Hello, Missy Enchanted. How's it going?
It's going well, Dave. How about yourself?
I'm good. Thanks for hopping on a call and just chatting about your experiences with Disney Lorcana, the DLC, and things that you hope and dream for the future of this amazing trading card game. I want to thank Joe for introducing us.
Yes.
He is definitely one of your great friends, and he's become a great friend and mentor to me in all things card games, not just with Disney Lorcana. But I think the first time we met was an event that he invited you to at
Yes.
Team of Comics. So, what event was that again?
Yeah, it was League Night, I believe. And usually on Thursdays, Coliseum is League Night, and it usually gets split between pay to play, so more of the competitive players, and then there's the casual tables. And I didn't want to pay to play, so we met at the casual tables.
That's right. But I don't think it was a special event.
I don't think so, unless I'm thinking where
Okay.
there's something else.
Okay, that's right. And I think at that point I was still fairly new. I don't think I actually had a core constructed or a legal deck, or maybe I did. I don't remember. Yeah.
I think you had Amethyst Steel,
Okay.
if I
Okay.
remember
Oh,
correctly.
because I think at that point I moved away from my starter deck and moved away from my kind of mutt. I call it mutt because I had this dog's deck that was inspired by the Forbidden Mountain deck. Why is her name escaping my mind?
Blizzard Kitty, Melissa?
Yes, Melissa as well too. Because I was like, your name is Melissa. I think her
Yep,
name is Melissa as well too.
correct.
But I remember watching her play in Bologna
Yeah.
and on stream. And I don't know if it was just. I think it was outside of the tournament. I think it was just a featured match,
Uh-huh.
and it was the first time I saw what dogs could do in
Could
regards to
do. Yeah.
aggro. And I was like, I gotta play that. Yeah. So I think I turned the page from my mutt deck and had some form of some kind of competitive deck as well too. But no. So how did you originally get started with Disney Lorcana?
Yeah, so I and my husband got into it basically day one. So when they sold the product to the hobby stores, we were like literally first in line where we were. As far as when we got introduced to it, I don't remember the exact moment. I just remember being very intrigued by the concept of Disney having a formal trading card game because growing up in the 90s, we pretty much knew Pokemon. And I collected Pokemon, but I really never did anything in terms of learning how to play it. It was just a matter of, hey, this was the trend back then, right? These were more considered toys for us in the 90s as they were trading cards, right, with value. So when we eventually found out, him and I did a lot of research on YouTube because there were some very early on content creators that were trying to be sleuths about, hey, what do the mechanics of these cards mean? Because all we had known from that were what we got at the D23 in 2022. We
Right.
got 7 cards, and that's all we had. It was a teaser. And I just remember literally watching YouTube after YouTube going, okay, what do we think this is? No one knew because they hadn't talked about it yet. And my husband came from MTG. So he was, wait a minute. And we paused the screen. I'll never forget. It was Mickey, Brave Little Tailor, which I know you love that card. And we had it paused and he's, okay, I think this is this. If it's anything magic, I think this is this. And I'm just like, sure. I'm just the art, right? It's Disney, it's Mickey Mouse. And it was just, it was very, in my opinion, a perfect blend of I come and grew up with Disney. He grew up playing trading card games. And for us to have something else in common aside from us, being married and things like that, something that we could do together that has really just continued to bond and strengthen our relationship. And honestly, the rest is history. So he was
Mhm.
in, I was in. I actually only wanted to collect. I did do pin trading way back when, but I didn't want to continue it. In fact, I have so many pins that are just sitting there collecting dust. But then I'm what trading cards seems a little easier because I remember my Pokemon days. So when we were on a cruise in Europe, and this was specifically in Belgium, I had done my research on where they were going to sell Arcana. And there was a small little cute shop, and I'm maybe mispronouncing this. I think it was Oleki, Olleke. And they were going to open up at 9 their time. So we literally got there at 8 a.m. to stake it out because I'm thinking, oh, yeah, in the States, this would have been a line 2 hours ago. Nobody was there. So we literally were the first ones there. We waited the whole hour. People were passing by looking at us. These people are crazy. I'm sure they're tourists. And then when we go through the door, the owner opens up and he's, if you guys are here for Lorcana, I haven't got my shipment yet. And we're not moving. We will stay outside if you need us to. We will chill inside. Our cruise ship doesn't leave till 4 p.m. We got time. And it was 4 to 5 hours of waiting.
Wow.
And then he ends up going, hey, I actually have another store down the street. They're going to get the delivery first. So if you still want to be first, I suggest you run. And we did, and we got there. And luckily, the lady who was working there already knew our story because he gave her a heads up. And I recorded them opening the first box that they ever received. And like I said, the rest is history. We got a couple of booster boxes, a trove, and the starter decks. And we've been learning and playing and collecting and doing all the things ever since. So that was very long-winded, but I wanted to give you the full story.
Oh, no, we'll be long-winded for sure. No, because I think this is great because I love learning people's origin stories. So yeah, no worries whatsoever. And then, so you're telling me you got your fingers on your first cards, not even in the United States.
Not in the United States. Luckily, their cards were in English because back then, and still to this, really only French, German, English. Back then, it was just those, and Italian. I think those were the originals. The Asian markets hadn't obviously come out yet. So I was pretty 90% sure we were going to get them in English as opposed to German. I think I even confirmed with the store owner that the language was going to be English. So I was, oh, good. So there's not going to be any marked differences, nothing. And sure enough, there isn't. It was legitimately same product. So we got lucky there.
That's awesome. And I'm carrying this too because I'm a history buff. I like to know origins and stuff like that as well too. And my Disney Lorcana adventure and journey didn't really start until the set before this current one at the time, which is set 9, which is, but I want to go back into what it was in the beginning. And because this Infinity format too, which if you're watching what Infinity is, basically allows you to use all cards from all the different sets, including the few, I think maybe just 2 cards that are currently banned, and then versus core constructed, which is what is allowed in this current time right now. Because I know that there's going to be a lot of people that will be joining forces with us and playing and becoming Illumineers with this upcoming marketing thing that we'll talk about a little bit more later on. But yeah, so core constructed versus Infinity. And for me, trying to wrap my head around Infinity is just crazy because it's the same thing as if I'm in history class listening to somebody talk about George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. And when people are talking about, oh, remember when this thing came and stuff like that. So take me back when you first got into the first chapter, which is the first set. And how many booster boxes did you get?
So we ended up getting 2.5. They actually only got a case.
Okay,
So
wow.
when we were there, it was very limited in what they got, and at least we were lucky enough to have gotten something. So they got only two troves and 1 case, and then a case of the starter decks. And I believe that was it. And then they did have, each store got like a packet of Tinkerbell Tiny Tactician. She wasn't a promo because she didn't have the symbol, but everyone kept calling her a promo. But I think it was more just a gift with purchase.
Sure.
So we got those. So it was me and Steven, my husband. And then we had everybody else behind us was from the same ship, the same cruise ship, because it was a Disney ship. So obviously.
Understood.
So it was us, and then it was a gentleman who also was here for obviously Lorcana, and then there was 2 friends from France. And the folks from France were like, we just want to buy 6 packs because we already have our pre-orders set up back home. And the gentleman behind us, I believe he was also from the States, and I'm here to get as much as possible. So I'm like, you know what, we're first. It's our obligation to make sure that we're not basically jerks, right?
Sure.
I'm not going to buy everything. So I got 1 booster box and a trove for the other gentleman. I'm pretty sure people watching are like, wow, y'all gave up a trove? We didn't realize, and I have no regrets, how popular and how limited those troves were going to be. So I'm glad we were able to push it forward and somebody else try that product. So he got the booster box and the starters. We each got 1 of the 3 starters. And I think that was it. And then when the French group got their 6 packs, there was basically 18 left, if I'm doing the math correctly, in the last box. we asked the store owner if we could just buy them out, right? Just
Mm,
buy the remainder 18. So we had 2.5 boxes. And yeah, that was what we bought. And I have pictures and I could send them to you. But
that'll be fun.
we took lovely photos of our first ever haul. And that box that was half opened had the enchanted in it.
Oh
Um,
man. Okay. So let's backtrack a little bit. So with booster boxes, that's basically
yes.
a box with a whole bunch of packs in it, and then
Mhm.
there's 24 packs
Yes.
in each booster box, right? And then can you explain to everybody what a trove is?
Yeah, so the Illuminous Trove is essentially a kind of quick, and I think, in my opinion, the most convenient product that they sell in terms of value. It comes with, I'm going to talk about the first chapter box because they have changed their bits and bobs inside. The
Sure.
first chapter came with 8 booster packs. So each pack comes with 12 cards. And that amount has not changed to date with the Lumineers Troves. Then it came with two kind of cardboard fold into place deck boxes. And then it came with some damage tokens, which we still get in the starters, in addition to the trove, which we no longer get the counters in the troves. But we did have damage counters in the troves, if I remember. And the part that people loved the most was the pamphlet that came with it because it talked about the lore of Disney Lorcana and it went further into a bit of the history and why we're here. And then it had a checklist of all of the cards because the Disney Lorcana app had not existed back then. And I may be missing something, but I'm pretty sure that was what was contained inside the Illuminator Treasure Trove. And it was the most limited run of a product because we learned that when we went back to the States, nobody could find any.
Oh wow.
We were very lucky to even have the one, and I only to this day have the one from chapter one.
So you're basically the first Disney Lorcana scalper on the planet. Oh my God. Congratulations. International spy, apparently, as well.
Did you say
Congratulations.
so?
You can add that to your resume. Man, that's fascinating. Yeah, because yeah, I remember being at the 2022 Disney
Oh
D23
my
Expo
goodness.
with my wife, and that was our first experience ever to go to a D23.
Wow.
And it was just super overwhelming walking
Yeah.
to the actual expo area. I distinctly remember just pointing out to my wife saying, "Oh, that looks like MTG or Magic the Gathering." I used to play Magic the Gathering in high school. Wow, I think that's pretty cool that Disney is doing that. And then we're looking at the agenda, and I was like, okay, they have some cards for sale, but I was like, okay, we're gonna go watch the Disney Legends ceremony instead. Oh my God, too. So I totally missed that opportunity. So you guys did a good job. Your husband did a good job in regards to deep research as well too. So okay, so you mentioned it as well too, where the first chapter it wasn't a huge big print. So did it
Understand.
feel kind of how Pokemon currently is now, where there's this way more demand than the supply?
I will say yes, but not quite. And now I don't dabble in Pokemon. I only am exposed to it, of course, through my exposure to Disney Lorcana when I go to the hobby stores. But I want to say it definitely felt the most desperate in terms of buying when we did come back from our vacation. I've heard stories of people paying triple the price of what the MSRP was for some of these
Wow.
things. The playmats were so difficult to find. I actually didn't find any of the first chapter playmats until they reprinted some a couple of sets ago when they introduced the Asia markets
Okay.
to Disney Lorcana. So mine are in, at least the marketing package is not in English, but the mat still looks the same, so you wouldn't even tell. But yeah, it was a lot in the sense that we were at least okay with what we had. We didn't have enough to have a full deck. Rapunzels were so difficult to find. So we basically played with proxies for a lot. And we stayed patient, at least us. We didn't pay extra or out of the ordinary for anything. It wasn't until Ravensburger finally said, hey, we're coming out with a reprint, that we were like, okay, let's grab some more. And I think they had a second reprint, a third run of first chapter. And that's when I think it started to stabilize. And then we were like, okay, we're good. Because then now second set had already come out. And because of the hysteria of the first chapter, everyone did the same thing with set two, with Rise of the Floodborn. And so it was like, we got to buy everything. We actually ordered Rise of the Floodborn from the same store in Belgium because we wanted to
Wow.
make sure that we got product. We were not going to fight with the stores locally because they had already sold out of their pre-orders. And we're like, we got homies in Bruges. We're going to hit them up. I don't know how much shipping is. Between shipping and them selling it at MSRP, it actually amounted to the same that we would have paid in the States at a higher premium because stores, I think, were putting them a little higher. So we were so good. We're like, Rise of the Floodborn, check. And it wasn't until Into the Inkland set 3 that we were good in the States. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but it was, first chapter was hectic, but we realized that yes, people were struggling to find, but we weren't going to give into the, hey, let me go pay $20 over MSRP or worse. We weren't going to do
Right.
that.
It sounds like it has some very similar things with Riff Brown right now. And then
Oh yeah.
Riff Brown is tough to find some stuff too, as well as One Piece right now. But now you can add international importer to your resume as well. So you got a couple of boosters or booster boxes. You got a trove. And then do you still have that lore book?
I do. I
Okay,
sure
cool.
do.
Yeah, I'm sure that they
Yeah.
sell those lore books, but if not, I may have to photocopy that from you later.
So yeah, it's like a little pamphlet, and hopefully they're going to translate it into the new books that they're coming out with on February 1st. I will definitely be cracking that treasure trove back up. I have it in the background on the shelves there, just compare and contrast. So it'll be interesting to see.
So you bought a whole bunch of packs, and then
Yeah.
you mentioned that you hit an enchanted. That's of your name as well, or your avatar or profile name as well. But for people that don't really know what an enchanted is, what is an enchanted card?
Sure. So let's just stay within the timeline of the first chapter. The Enchanted was the most exclusive and most rare card. And so when you think of the cards within Disney, you have the regular kind of like semi-gloss matted finish ones, which is usually what we are playing with. Then they had a special, what they call cold foil, where it was one of in each booster box. But in that last slot, you could have found essentially what Pokemon's holographics are. That's the only way I could have understood it. But of course, it's a different name. We call it Enchanted because it's Disney. It's more Disney. And these are just full pictured cards, so there's no framing around the enchanteds. And back then it was 12 of the cards got the enchantment treatment, which now the 18 get the enchanted treatment. So yeah, it's basically what was the most coveted and still are highly coveted cards within Disney Lorcana, because Disney Lorcana and Ravensburger have never come out with the ratio of what the percentages of what you can get for an enchanted, but people were guesstimating 1 in 96 packs, I believe, is what people were estimating. And this is prior to the epics and the iconics. I don't know if those have changed the print run for enchanteds.
All I know is that I have never pulled an enchanted, and I've probably bought over, just in 2 sets, I've probably bought close to 2 cases, and I don't know, like maybe 2 troves, and I don't know how many packs. So I am not lucky. I am not I've realized that I'm not a good gambler.
So what I'm hearing is, come the next set, don't open your box. Let me open one for you, and we'll see if we hit.
Okay, there we go. So what was your first enchanted that you pulled?
Yes, so my first one was Genie Wish Fulfilled.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and ironically enough, when I opened it, I was like, wow, that was easy. Oh, that's it? Like, I ended up opening like 8 packs, and there he was, and I'm like, oh my God. So that hit you get, right? Like that, what is it? A dopamine hit when you find an enchanted in the card you want or were looking for. I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to get into the other boxes. Of course, there was nothing left because it was all one case. And back then, you got lucky if you found one within a case. So I was just so delusioned that enchantments were easy to find because I was lucky to get one so quickly, right, within our first purchase. And then as we continued to find more product, I have actually opened a total of 3 Genie Wish Fulfilled Enchanted. That is my most opened enchanted. Yes.
Almost a place that I think you need to go back. I think you need to buy some more Costco bundles rip more just to get a full play set.
I've actually traded away the other two. So I still only have my original, which I think that my theory holds up because every time we trade a card, we end up finding it again.
Mm.
So it's just really weird how that works. And I've often joked I should probably trade away an Elsa to find another Elsa, but I'm not willing to risk that hypothesis.
I have a friend, a local that I play with at Collie or Coliseum of Comics in Kissimmee, Florida.
Mhm.
He has, I believe, he has completed his entire Enchanted set.
Wow.
So he has one of every single one. I will embark on my Enchanted hunt here pretty soon. I just gotta get rid of my other DCGs that I've been collecting right now.
Fair
So
enough.
I gotta start
It's an
moving things out. Okay, so then you started playing, and then you had two starter decks. So when did you guys start breaking into the starter decks?
Yeah, so the first chapter came out with 3. So basically each was representing all of the 6 colors. And then they broke it down to 2 after that for the next sets. So we got home. I don't think we immediately started opening things. You have to like just relax and like settle in after a big vacation. But I think it was like a week or 2 later we actually cracked into them. And I'll never forget, we did it right at our cafe table. And I was so overprotective of these cards that we had no play mats and I didn't know
Right.
what to do. But here we are on our cafe table, we have dinner, and I'm like, this just feels weird playing without coverage or protection. But here we were playing, and I picked up the amber amethyst, and he was dabbling with the other 2, which were ruby emerald and sapphire steel. The card's a lot better because he could translate them from MTG. He kept beating me and I was getting very frustrated. And I'm like, I don't like this. This is not fun. Until finally, like I started picking up, oh, okay, if I play this and just go sideways, he's going to have a hard time. So I understood and learned very quickly the concept of aggro decks. And then I realized aggro's fun, but eventually it's going to die out because you have zero way of drawing once you've like just put everything on the floor there. And yeah, it was just fun. And then from there I get to learn strategy and kind of pick up on different things and then learn the shift mechanic. And Steven was very helpful with just his interpretation of the game, right? Because it was still very new on how to play. And yeah, we very much enjoyed it. And it was really just him and I playing back and forth for quite
Right.
some time. Yeah.
Do you think you have enough bulk cards to be able to rebuild all of the starter decks? Because I yeah,
I'd say
because
so.
I want to
Yeah.
go back. I'm eventually just going to collect. I'm going to go back and just buy a sealed starter deck box from all of the previous sets.
Yeah.
But I want to start playing actually with all the different starter decks.
Sure.
Joe was telling me that there was a starter deck tournament at DLC this past weekend. So
Yes.
and that's something that I really want and passionate about in regards to making starter decks fun, okay to play, and especially for a lot of people that are going to be introduced to this game here shortly, and making it just fun. And I think it's okay to play with starter decks, but we'll unpack that a little bit more soon. And so you started playing with starter decks, maybe didn't have a complete set, all that to be able to play, and so you're back here in Orlando.
Yes.
And do you remember your first locals that you ever went to?
Yes. My first locals actually happened after my first pay to play experience.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about your.
So back then I didn't understand any of it. It was really I was trying to learn a bit more about the whole open league concept, right? So through Facebook and things like that, and through the Disney Lorcana page, I had learned, hey, you can go to your local hobby stores and meet fellow Lumineers and play. Me being introverted, yes, I know, shocker, and of course very new to TCGs and feeling all up in my headspace, insecure, I felt nervous to go, but I really wanted to play. I enjoyed it. And I had a work trip back down to Miami. And my husband, see if there's like a store you can go to while you're there. And I'm like, that's a really good idea. So
Mhm.
I had my deck that I had constructed and evolved from a starter deck. And I was very excited to play. And I'm like, hey, I'm beating my husband. I can steal a couple wins at League. Come to find out, it wasn't casual. It was just how Coliseum does it. You pay to play.
And,
And
and which set was this?
this was chapter 1.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
And So I went in and I felt so out of place because, of course, nobody there knows me. I'm essentially an out of towner. And I signed up. I didn't even have a Melee account. I didn't even know what the heck Melee was. And they're like, "Do you have a account?" I'm like, "What's Melee?" And they're like, "Here, just give us your email address." And I'm like, "Sure." And I paid whatever. We start, and I get matched in, and the first guy beats me. The next guy beats me. Spoiler alert, I went 0-5. And it was so discouraging. And I remember just going back into my car, calling Steven immediately and just going, "I don't think this is for me." And I just, yeah, you can imagine tears were involved. And he was like, "Hey, this was your first time. Realistically, you couldn't expect to do amazing." But at the same time, I clearly didn't realize how much I didn't know. And all these guys had like full meta decks, right? Like they somehow were able to find product. And here I am playing some evolution of a starter deck. So that was my first introduction to stepping out into the
Right.
public. My
So
first league, to go back to your question, Steven encouraged me to try again, but this time in Orlando. And so I took to Facebook and I went to the Central Florida group and I just made a post. "Hey guys, I'm new, I'm blah, 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 nervous. Where can I go for beginners?" And a few people responded, but none other than Joe took the additional time. And I could literally hear his words as I'm reading this now that I know him. Like, he took the time to basically say, "Hey, we have a small group here. We're pretty much all beginners. We've got a good thing going here on Sundays. We would love to have you. Here are the details."
I love
And the
that.
rest was history. The rest was history, honestly. Like, it was that Sunday. I was a little nervous and hesitant, but I went. And ever since then, I ended up going every Sunday that they had it. And Steven ended up joining me, and we just built a huge group of just friends who love to play Lorcana. And I have Joe to thank for that. He is such a great friend, such a great mentor, such a great coach and judge, and just all the things when it comes to building a good Disney Lorcana community. And we all knew that, right? Like that community, he was the glue. Yeah, the rest was history, honestly. Once I went, we kept going, and it was so addicting, and we looked forward to Sundays. And if we had other friends that wanted to hang out, I'm like, "Sorry, Lorcana Sundays, I can't."
I'm putting my foot down, and I got people to see during the week, and I got babies to feed, and I'm gonna bring back afternoon.
Do it.
I will forgo watching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers during football season to play Disney Lorcana in an afternoon.
Yeah.
Like, how are
Yeah.
kids supposed to play Disney Lorcana at
Yeah.
6:30 at night and getting it home
That's
on
true.
a school night? Like,
On
that's
school
impossible.
night.
So, okay,
That's
all
true.
right. And two, if people want to get to know who Joe is, I'm actually going to be interviewing him here pretty soon as well too. So we'll probably do a fun deep dive on all things Lorcana. Additionally, who also was at my first time playing Disney Lorcana, him and another gentleman named Matt as well too. So we'll talk to both of them soon.
Nice.
Okay, so then wow, so like you were out of the gate swinging in regards to the first chapter, getting
Yep.
and then joining a team, so to speak. So early on, where you were playing on a regular basis, and then continuing on with each set and collecting this entire time as well, which I think is great. And so tell me a little about your collection, because I've had some great conversations. You've helped and mentored me in regards to wrapping my head around how I can make sure that I'm not only not hoarding everything, but
Right.
also being very efficient and stuff like that too. So I know this is going to be a topic for people too, as they start getting these promos or buying different packs and stuff like that too, and getting organized. So as you were buying and collecting and playing, did you just have to figure out how you wanted to do it? And if you could explain to everybody what your collection looks like now.
Sure. I don't know how good the camera is working right now, but most of my collection is pretty much behind me. Once we got the swing of League and we realized that we got prizes for participating, that's part of the reason why we kept going, because you basically had to participate. Back then, it was based off of point system. And at the end of the quarter, I forget what we called it, after the 12 weeks, essentially, you got put into like a raffle. Hey, if you had the most points, you get first dibs on these prizes. And then it trickles down and things like that. And me being such a goblin of tchotchkes, I wanted all of them. And the pins were the most coveted, in my opinion, not only for myself, but for most people. And it's the same pins that we're familiar with. They haven't necessarily change the concept of the framing and stuff like that. And so that was one thing. And then they came out with promo league cards. So I still have the original cold foil promo cards. Back then, obviously, we weren't thinking about resale or just how rare they were going to be. So I only have the one set of, or I should say, the one of each. And then as we kept going set by set, I'm like, okay, now we need a play set of each of these. Like, need to be more diligent in these collections. And I was really just a collector of everything, Dave. It was like, if it had Disney Lorcana on it, I wanted at least one of it. And that's just how it's been. If I didn't own it and I couldn't get it by the end of the set, I may have taken to a certain website, but I try not to do that. Because if we can get it for free, that's the whole point of it, is to get it through participating. But as far
Right,
as my collection, correct, yeah. My collection consists of a master set. Basically, I do 1 through 204 of non-foils and 1 through 204 cold foils, and then one of the enchanteds. I don't need play sets of enchanteds. I am not in the business of doing that, me personally. And those go in my binders, which are back there. I double up my binders, 2 sets a binder, which is why you only see 5 binders. And then everything in terms of what we play with is in separate boxes. And I separate them by ink color. So I have a yellow box, I have a blue box, I have a red box, purple. And then we divide it by set. So if him and I need to build a Ruby Amethyst stack, I get my red box, I get my purple box, and then we just go into it. And then we're like, oh, now he's Shark is what set? Oh, he's Azure. Okay, so look for the 6. And that's pretty much the bulk of what my focus is, right? Is the cards. And then I've got the pins, which I actually have right there.
Oh, fun,
So
fun,
I
fun.
got all my pins there. Really, I think I'm only missing 2, the Whole New World one, which is like buku bucks, and the Lilo one from I think 1 set ago. But yeah, that's my collection in a nutshell. I try to be very protective of them. I learned from my Pokemon days, don't use ring binders. So that's why they're in those fancy binders. And then I sleeve everything before I put them in the binder. Yep, just obviously want to hold their life in terms of the longevity of the cards. Hope that
Yeah.
answers your question.
Yes, it does. Absolutely. And it's hard to believe, even though like we're currently of this recording, we're on set 10. And then here in a couple of weeks, we're going to have set 11. But at this time, Disney Lorcana is still an infant. And I don't think we're even toddler stage yet, just being a little bit over 2 years. I need to go back and because I want to find out the birthday of Disney Lorcana. And I think we should celebrate the birthday because I think we just passed it.
August. So if we talk about a hobby store, it was August 18th of 2023. That date is forever ingrained in my memory. August 18th,
2023. And I think what we should do for August 18th, 20 is
3 years.
Yeah, I think we need to do some kind of celebration in
Sure.
regards to just like a Lorcana party. Just other TCGs do, they celebrate birthdays, and I think it'll be fun.
Let's do it.
And then you're collecting and you're playing in locals, pay to play as well too. And at some point, there's a thing called a meta, these meta decks, stuff like that too. At what point did that type of crazy focus into Disney
Switch for
Lorcana?
me? Yeah, I'll tell you one. It was March of 2024 when they had what they called their first ever Lorecast. And they came swinging with just so many announcements that day. I actually was watching it at work. So I had it like on my phone and during like I took some time to watch it a little bit, and they announced the announcement of DLCs as well as set championships. And with that, they teased a lot of the card prizes. They teased the playmat for the Rockstar Stitch and the card. And you know me, I got to catch them all. So now I need to get serious about my play because only the top 4 at the time got a card. And Steven was like, I told you, you need to be competitive. You're not going to get these if you're not good. And that's when like I kicked it into the burners and was like, okay, let's go.
Right.
Let's start playing. Let's start testing. I had really gotten comfortable with Amber Steel Song, if you will. And I had some spice in there. I always loved throwing in You Have Forgotten Me,
Mhm.
which, depending on if you were the player of the draw, there was always that perfect timing of your opponent on turn 4 that all they had was 2 cards or 1. And I would just get them every time, turn 4, boom. And now you're having to climb, right? And after that, it was like a KO for me, and it felt so good. Ha! You have nothing. You're top decking. Oh, my Tinkerbell's already shifted, and I'm doing all the things. So it was one of those where I took that to the first few, didn't do so hot, and then I thought, okay, what are the strategies? What meta did I want to make for myself? I even took a somewhat aggro Amber Sapphire to my very last Stitch Championship that actually put me into top cut. So I did make top 8 in my very last Stitch set champs with that deck. And I was so excited to just see that I stuck true to my play style. Does that make sense? So yes, there's a meta, but not everyone can play or have that similar play style to what the meta says.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to bust my butt with a deck that you're telling me I should play when I really just either can't get it or it's not working for me. If I play Amber Steel into Sapphire Ruby, it's an auto loss. And I was so frustrated at meeting those colors with Amber Steel that I'm like, I need to shift. So yeah, I basically built a hyper aggro, half warded Amber Sapphire deck, and I just went sideways. Kit Cloud Kicker was my MVP because you would play him on 1, he was warded. You shifted him on 3, and now he's questing for 3 lore, and he's warded. And I'm just like, all right, let's go. Find me, catch me, opponent. And it was just so fun to play. I lost in
Yeah.
top 8. So I never got my own Stitch card. But Steven did win one. So we did get the mat and we did get the card. But that was it for Stitch for Into the England Set Championships. But yeah, that's pretty much when Melissa got competitive. Is okay, now we got cards to play for, like real big buku cards. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so good. That's so fun. And that's similar to me too, like in regards to my personal journey within the Disney Lorcana. And just if someone's watching and they don't know what a meta really is, basically it's the decks and the cards that are the most competitive. And those are the cards that, so say you're going to go compete at a high level or pay to play, there's a chance that you're going to be able to figure out what deck or what style they do by the type of cards that they start playing as well too. And this kind of goes back to my thing in regards to what you kind of alluded to, as well as why I enjoy speaking to Joe and making things spicy. Spicy means that it's a different style of deck that's not everybody is using. Whether it's going to be playing a card that you just personally enjoy, a character that you personally enjoy, or a franchise, like a Disney franchise that you love and that you just want to build around it. Or like a very unknown card that not a lot of people play. And if you can put it into combinations with other cards that work well with each other and have a sequence or a line or a strategy or a curve that you can play where it could make it work. And sometimes it could bite you in the butt, but sometimes it
Yep.
can work. You never know, the art of the surprise. So there's the locals, the pay to play when you're going to LGS or local gaming stores. And then at the end of a set, there's going to be a set championship based upon whatever is current in that allowable play for those cards. And then you alluded to Disney or Ravensburger announcing DLCs or Disney Lorcana challenges. Am I correct that you've been to
Every DLC in North America, that is correct. Yes.
That's amazing. And then for those who have not been to a DLC, which includes myself, what is a Disney Lorcana challenge?
Yeah, so Disney Lorcana Challenge currently is the highest level of competitive tournament play that Disney Lorcana and Ravensburger host. Depending on the space of the venue, it could be anywhere from 1,024 players to now, with Ghent, up to 96
That's
players.
crazy.
Yeah, I know. I can't even fathom what that room of 4,000 plus people is going to look like, because that's not even including attendees, because they will
Right.
have a small allotment of attendees as well. But in North America, the highest we've ever gone is 2,048. Sparker has alluded to them wanting to look into and potentially increasing North America DLCs in the future as well. But as of right now, 2,048 is the highest we've seen. And that's still a lot of people, right? It's essentially a tournament, right? It started the first season, it was 8 rounds. And if you were able to get a certain amount of points, there was a threshold, I believe. I can't recall what the point threshold was back then, but you had to reach a certain amount, and then that would almost secure you, unless you bubbled out, for what we call day two. And then day two would be top 64 players. And then, of course, that would trickle down to 32, 16, 8, 4, and then 2. And it was just a long, yet, in my opinion, super fun day of just grinding games. Luckily, the first DLC happened after the first set championships. So, depending on your area, you actually got to, like I said, grind a lot of games. In Orlando, we would have 60 plus players at some of our stores, which automatically translated to 6 or 7 rounds of just regulation, not even top cut. So when we went into Atlanta for our first DLC ever in North America, we were pretty used to the pace and the amount of timing and things like that. Of course, we couldn't fathom that the internet was not going to work because there were so many people in one building. And at the time, there was also a DLC happening in Lille, France. So you could imagine everyone hitting melee at the same time was not a good thing. Other than that, it's just depending on you, the person, you could go as a competitor or an attendee. So if you don't want to be on the competitive side, attendees were able to do like side events. So starter deck turn quests. What else? There were learn to plays back then in Atlanta. So if your family hasn't learned how to play Disney Lorcana and they were there, they could have learned how to play the game. And there's a little bit of everything for everyone. And they have evolved in terms of offerings and things like that. And even now, the current DLC, we now go into 12 rounds of games in regulation before a top cut. It's a lot. It's an endurance for sure.
Yeah, and then you are fresh from attending a DLC in
Yes,
Richmond.
that is correct.
Yes. So are you still in the taking it all in stage? Are you, or have you got your reflections down in regards to how the weekend went, not just for yourself, but the community and as well as a lot of the
Yeah.
competitive players?
Sure, I'll say yes to that question initially. Luckily, there was an extra day of events for this one in comparison to Milwaukee, which was the first of this season. So there were a lot of games to be had, and I participated in every main event Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday for those of us who didn't make top cut on Sunday. So they still had major events for the rest of us. And I trying to see if I can do the math here. 8 plus 7 plus another 7. That's a lot of rounds to play, right, in a span of 3 days. Needless to say, I haven't played Lorcana in 2 days. Reflection wise, there's something that is discussed a lot that is a trend here in terms of people's performance and outcomes at something as big as a DLC. And that is, yes, you could bring in skill, but all card games will also have luck and variance. And you can go in so confident that you have a really good deck and you trust your skills, but then you sit in front of someone, and whether they are a heck of a player, a competitive professional, or there's someone just starting out, you never know what cards you're going to draw. And because of that fact, the best of us can do so bad in a single match versus the person across from us. All that to say, on Friday, the same deck that won me a set championship, I started off 0-4. And I could not fathom how that was even possible.
Right.
So I did do a lot of reflecting that day, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I went to a panic, and I'm like, oh my God, this is supposed to be for tomorrow and the main event. And luckily I had help from my team to be like, hey, listen, let's just look at your deck. Let's see what we could change. What were your struggles today? And let's make some tweaks. In hindsight, should I have maybe tweaked less? Probably. Because again, that's another thing. When you change your deck, you should be doing like 2 or 3 card changes at a time.
Right.
I overcorrected, but I agreed with some of the overcorrections in terms of what I took out versus what I put in based off of my games from the prior day. Now, that's not a regret, but needless to say, I went 4-4 on the main event day. So not better, but not bad in terms of my comparison to Friday. It was just a matter of, hey, listen, again, it comes down to variance, opponents, luck. There's so many things, and you just got to learn from it. And at the end of the day, I appreciate meeting people. And you make a new friend when someone sits across from you, right? And then we engage and we're like, hey, you find out, hey, you make content too. I make content. And there's an additional networking that goes on. And then you get to meet all of your virtual friends that you've made through Instagram or TikTok. Or you get to connect with people you've made friends with from previous DLCs and whatnot. So overall, I thoroughly enjoy going to these, whether I do myself. Obviously, that's what we hope to do. But regardless, I tend to look at the positive, right? I may not have done smashingly overall, but I was still able to do enough to get my promo cards. For me, it's always a successful weekend, and they're always fun to do. It's just after this one, I find myself always taking a break right after because it was a lot of overload of talking and just math.
So you don't want to, after we're done with this interview, we can just crack out some points that webcams down and start just playing over cam.
If you want.
Maybe we can just do like a baby pack rush.
Yeah, there you go. Pack rush.
Yeah.
I love pack rush.
So then, okay, so that's good. And then maybe we'll save the chat of how the DLC actually went in regards to some of the matchups and some of the decks and stuff like that too. That could be fun as well as I figure out what direction I want to go in regards to content creation as well. So then now you're home and taking a break from Lorcana for not too long though.
No,
because as of the recording, this is going to be the actual launch of Disney Lorcana at our favorite place in the world, Disney World, because we're down the street from it, and it's dropping this upcoming weekend. So I'm super excited about it. I want to see how I'm going to make this work because I do have my family coming into town, and I'm picking them up from the airport as well on Friday morning, which is when the Festival of the Arts at Epcot is starting, as well as at 9 a.m. the Disney Lorcana is going to be launched. What are they calling it again?
Disney Lorcana
Quest. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right as well too. So I have no idea how it's going to be. I just know that there was a ton of people at Disney Springs for this past set drop. And if that's any indication of the locals coming, as well as a lot of the Disney adults, because I'm assuming the kids are going to be at school. So maybe not, I don't know, we'll see. But I'm curious to see what the line is going to look like, because I think Epcot also opens at
9.
So
it opens at 9.
Epcot on this Friday. All right. And then, okay. I think we're breaking up a little bit. I think it's okay now.
We're good now. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So that'll be launching. I know that you're hosting an event this Saturday as well too, but then you're also going on a Rope Drop on Friday as well. So what are the details for Saturday?
Yeah. So Saturday, myself and a local friend, Justin, who his handle on Instagram is Lorcana Collectors, we are hosting a unofficial meetup at Epcot at 3 p.m. local time in the World Celebration area. And I know that could be the most confusing thing because people think of World Showcase, and it is not World Showcase. World Celebration is the new outdoor kind of picnic area right at the beginning of Epcot that has the Walt Disney statue. Okay. So that's World Celebration. So when we say World Celebration, that's what we're talking about. And if you're still unsure, for those of you who have maybe been to Epcot and there was still a bit of construction in the last couple of months, it's where the eateries are, the Eatery of Connections Creations. For Connections is the store. It's right across from that. And so hopefully that kind of helps. And if not, it's basically if you are going into Guardians of the Galaxy's Cosmic Rewind, you will have passed World Celebration to get to the breezeway over to that attraction. So I know there's been a lot of questions as to where, but essentially we're there to hopefully unwind, to meet some Lumineers, if you want to trade, if you want to get in some games. There really is no agenda of events. It's just we want to make sure we have an opportunity to connect with fellow Lumineers who are either local or visiting, because we know we're going to have some visitors to Epcot for this event. And it'll just be fun. Hopefully we can take a big picture. at the end, but I'm just very excited. We did something similar last year, and weather pending did change our location, but we did still have a pretty good turnout, and we all just ended up playing at the Odyssey building, just games of Lorcana, and it was so fun. And everyone was like, "We should do this again," and we're like, "Absolutely."
And then, yeah, I love that. So everyone's gonna be meeting in World Celebration, and then
Yes.
where exactly is the Disney Lorcana Quest going to be
To my understanding, they have still yet to finalize
released?
some things, but as the time of recording, there's going to be one distribution area, and that is the bridge that leads you into World Showcase. So essentially, for those of you who have been to Epcot, if you have been during the holidays and you see that big Christmas tree right before World Showcase, that stretch of land, that bridge is what we're talking about. And basically, if you've gone into World Showcase, you've already passed it. So there's going to be a distribution center, and you're going to get a booklet. And that booklet is going to have both of the activities that you will need to get two of the cards. So one of them is the actual quest where you get a packet and then you trade amongst the Lumineers and you try to find the 4 cards that are your little booklet. And the other one, the name is escaping me, but I think it's Ink and Find. And that one is similar to previous festival scavenger hunts where you go around World Showcase and you're
Right.
like, oh, okay, I need to find these 12, 11 cards. And you put a sticker once you find them in your booklet. And then you will turn the booklet in upon completion in one of 2 locations. So there's the Odyssey building, which is if you are in the Mexico Pavilion, you would go away from Norway and you would go towards like the bathrooms. And the Odyssey building is the big building right before Test Track. Or you can go to the Morocco Pavilion and go where the old, I believe, Marrakesh restaurant used to be. And that was the other place. And I believe that's the lounge, they're calling it, if you just want to hang and meet other Lumineers. So 2 places where you can go to hang out or to redeem your booklets for those 2 cards. And then there's a third one. It's a with purchase. We don't know the details about that one just yet.
And then, which will probably be dropping on the upcoming Lorecast this
Oh,
Thursday.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah. So I think there's going to be a lot of announcements and explaining all those things as well too. But so that Lorecast is created and hosted by Ravensburger, and it is on Twitch. So if you don't have a Twitch account, you're gonna have to learn how to do that as well too.
Yeah.
Because I know there's gonna be a lot of Disney adults that are going to be interested in this. So you're going to have to ask your kids on what Twitch is and how to download it. And then follow Disney Lorcana on there as well too, where you'll be able to watch the previous DLCs, the Disney Lorcana challenges as well, and little snippets and previous Lorecasts as well, so they can get an understanding of this upcoming event, as well as there's going to be some other shows or previous shows on the upcoming set as well. So then you'll be able to, for Winter Spell, for set 11, that's going to come out here in a couple of weeks as well. So speaking about things coming forward and coming to you and to us as well, and I want to just see what you have in your mind in regards to your future in Disney Lorcana. Do you see yourself continuing to go to DLCs? Do you still, obviously, still collecting, still playing, still having fun?
Yep.
So what do you think you'll be doing as we move forward with Disney Lorcana?
Sure. So let's start here. As far as DLCs, the goal is always to attend them. Currently, Stephen and I do have badges for Ghent. Over in Belgium. And the reason this would be our first one going
National.
to play at a DLC, and we thought it was pretty ceremonious to do so because that's where our Disney Lorcana story started. We are literally going back to the country in which we first bought product.
Amazing. I love that.
So we were even hoping to like make a pilgrimage over to the store again and maybe buy a couple packs and do things like that and just be really like throw up cute about it. And then of course play, and I'm hoping that does come to fruition. Knock on wood. We still got a couple months for that, but that is definitely in the plans. Indy, I know a lot of us talked about Indianapolis DLC over the weekend because we all assume we're all going to go to the next one. So that is the current thought process. Of course, we don't know when tickets go on sale for Indianapolis just yet. Anything else, of course, we'll continue to participate in set champs. I'm really hoping to continue to see more festival events similar to what we're going to see now at Epcot. Last year, Disney California Adventure had the very first ones, and I am certainly hoping they do at least one more this year. My big pie in the sky is that they bring it back to Disney Cruise Line, as they did
Mhm.
test runs of that last year. We
Mhm.
were fortunate enough to go on one, and hopefully they are able to expand that amongst the entire fleet. So that way we don't have to just pick and choose one ship. We could do whichever. And then, yeah, I feel like, and this is obviously, I have no prior knowledge or anything to this, but I feel like there's still something else in the works. Like, I'm hoping
Mhm.
Ravensburger is like, we're going to surprise you guys with XYZ. It's the beginning of the year, God only knows, but I'm starting to see, and I'm really appreciative that they are tailoring and catering to the non-competitive side of
Mhm.
Lorcana. And it's so fun to see how much more they can further expand the social aspect of this game. And that's the part that really speaks to me more. I can be competitive. I can put that hat on, but it's the social aspect that I love. So hopefully that whatever that may be continues to be, and I'll definitely be there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And that's my wish for it as well too, because I don't think that they are numb to the fact that there are so many people that are just love with Disney, love the all the different storytelling, and I just know that Disney is always future pacing things as well too. So I'm very excited on things with Disney Lorcana,
Yeah.
and I am so grateful for you to spend this time sharing your love, your passion for Disney Arcana, the community itself. You have always been super nice and helpful to me, and I
Oh,
appreciate it. And maybe this is going to be something that we can continue to put out more content like this, where it's going to be more focused in on the community and the fun of Disney Lorcana. Yeah, I agree with you too. Does it feel great whenever you have just spent all this time and you're grinding meaning that you're just playing this deck and you're trying to figure out different things to be able to put in there, and knowing the cars and knowing the other person's cars and be able to win and knowing that you won because you deserve to win. But I also believe that there's just so much fun to it. And I think we'll be able to work together on as well too. So thank you so much for doing this.
thank
And
you.
maybe we'll be able to do more of these fun type of recordings too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Dave. This was fun.